the Indiana Fever beat the Dallas Wings 102-83. This was a highly anticipated game because it was going to be the first time that Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers would be going up against one another in the WNBA.
5 years of hype came down to one night. Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers, the teenage sensations who picked opposite roads. Clark to Iowa, Bueckers to UConn. Clark ruled their college showdowns, lighting up March Madness while critics like Geno Auriemma swore her style wouldn't last in the pros. Fast forward to last night, first WNBA clash, Fever hosting the Wings. What followed wasn't just a game, it was Clark stamping a record she's now written twice and no one else has ever touched. Fired up for this rivalry? Drop new Rivalry Alert in the comments and let's dive right in. The night had been circled in neon since draft day. Paige Bueckers' surgical calm against Clark's volcanic range. Geno Auriemma once promised fundamentals would trump fireworks. Diana Taurasi predicted Clark's rude awakening. Yet Clark shouted back with numbers. History has only seen at her hand.
And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. You know, Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement.
Meanwhile, Bueckers, the pride of UConn, looked on as Areke Ogunbowale suffered in 0 for 10 nightmare, smothered by the very defender pundits said would buckle under pro physicality.
There is definitely something going on within the locker room, the front office. Something is off, man. This is the third situation in one game we have had involving Caitlin Clark and the coaching staff and pretty much another player.
Everything changed in one silent locker room moment. Coach Stephanie White, sick of tough losses and a hot mic clash with Caitlin Clark, balled up her slow ball playbook and said just one word: run. That single command turned the Fever from a struggling rebuild into full throttle showtime in Hoosier Red. We're about to expose the revolt that forced White's gamble, decode the records that no other WNBA player has tallied twice, and explain why Dallas rushed the August rematch into a 20,000-seat barn. Did this game crown a queen? Or fire the opening salvo of the league's next fiery rivalry?
Hey, Caitlin. You've known Paige since middle school, AAU. You guys were on the U19 World Cup team together. Is there anything that maybe stood out then about her, whether it be on or off the court, that maybe still reigns true today?
I mean, I feel like she's played in the same manner that she, has since she was, whether we were on the U16 team together, U19 team together, whether it was me watching her in AAU. She's always just been smooth. She takes what the game gives her. Her midi has always been as nice as it's been this year. She's just she just plays way older than she is. She's confident, she's smooth, she just does everything at a high level, can score from all three levels. And that's how she's always played. And that's obviously translated really well.
Before they ever stepped onto a WNBA court, Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers were must-see TV in Midwest gyms. Clark was dropping threes from the parking lot, so deep the scorekeeper sometimes waited to make sure they counted. Bueckers fired back with silky pull-ups, no-look passes, and steady poise that had veteran scouts nodding. Pure point guard. Coaches squeezed into every corner, live streams overloaded, and parents balanced shaky camcorders as AAU crowds spilled past the doors. College picks sent them down opposite roads. Clark chose Iowa, a proud program still starving for a banner. She wanted to build her own legacy, not borrow someone else's. Bueckers picked UConn, the point guard factory where Geno Auriemma's trophies clink every time a draft pick signs. Instantly, fans framed it as attitude versus Polish, street corner bomber against honor roll surgeon.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, everything is she was Caitlin before Caitlin, she's better than Caitlin, all this stuff. That kind of stopped in the media. Caitlin Clark put up better numbers in the WNBA than Paige did in college.
March Madness only cranked the volume. Clark dropped 41 on UConn in an Elite 8 showdown, launching Iowa into the Final Four and Paige back to campus. Purists praised Bueckers' textbook form, but sports bars roared that Clark's deep range beats any manual. The score? Clark 2, Bueckers 1. An ESPN loop that never seemed to end. Draft day raised the stakes. Indiana grabbed Clark and ticket sales spiked so fast, Pacers accountants did a double take. Dallas drafted Bueckers, pairing her with high-volume scorer Arike Ogunbowale. Fans circled when they were scheduled to play against each other, especially for their first pro meeting on a primetime stage. But a rivalry needs friction, and 600 miles north in Indiana, the Fever were already sputtering. Something had to give before tip-off even arrived.
I feel like this stretch, this is a big game for us. I think we've struggled in the fact that we're able to play one good game, and then we play a bad game, then we play a good game, then we play a bad game. So I think for us is like, we got to find a way to be able to stack really good games together. And then we go on the road and, we're on a back-to-back, which is just a challenge in itself. No matter who you're playing, we play Connecticut, then we play New York. So I think Steph's message was, yes, All-Stars coming up, that break's coming up, but our focus is on these 3 games that we have left. So in that sense, I do think it's critical that our focus just remains on the game in front of us. And I feel like that's what everybody in the locker room is doing.
Indiana's July skid was ugly. They lost to the brand new Valkyries, fell apart against the Sparks, then got smacked 88-77 in Atlanta. Fans who paid top dollar to see deep threes instead watched Caitlin Clark walk the ball up and run slow sets. Coach Stephanie White kept talking about executing. Clark's eyes kept saying, "Let's sprint." The breaking point came in Atlanta, and ESPN Mike caught Clark poking White's clipboard and snapping, "Let us run." The clip hit social media in minutes. Sports shows called it old school coaching versus a new school star. Clark's shot was ice cold too, just 27 makes in her last 70 attempts. She told reporters even Steph Curry goes cold, so she'd keep firing.
Yeah. Our player development coach yesterday, and he was like, just sent me a few things of like even Steph going through a slump. I think he was like 27 for his last 70 or something like that. Like the best in the world go through it, and I think that's like where you can find your confidence. And I think the thing I always fall back on is like, I know how hard I've worked, so this isn't something that's going to last, and the best players in the world go through this. So I feel like I'm getting good shots, and I think that's why it's frustrating, because those are the shots that I make.
Older fans shrugged. They remembered Reggie Miller shooting his way out of slumps, but Indiana's slow pace was killing their offense. With Dallas and Paige Bueckers on the schedule, White had a choice: play it safe or roll the dice. Hours before tip-off, she walked into the locker room, erased the playbook, and said 2 words: "Your pace." No speech, no diagrams, just the keys handed straight to Clark.
It can be frustrating when your shot isn't going in the way that you want it to, but then like I look at the box and it's like, I'm really 4 shots away from having a really good game, a really good shooting game. So that's where you find your confidence, and I know those are shots that I can make, and I'm never going to stop shooting. So, until I break out of it, I'm just going to keep launching, and that's all I know, and I'm still confident in everything that I can do.
From the jump, Clark smashed the gas pedal. Indiana's bigs raced down the floor, wings filled the corners, and laser passes zipped everywhere. ABC's crew even said, "This feels like the old Showtime Lakers." Dallas matched the pace early. Paige hit smooth mid-range jumpers. Clark whipped skip passes, and the score stayed tight. But as the first quarter ticked away, Dallas started sucking wind. Indiana's bench traded quick grins. They could see the wings running out of steam. It wasn't if the flood would hit, only when. 13 seconds into the second quarter, the burst finally came. A loose rebound squirted to the sideline.
Lee Rue the other night had a season-high 18 points. Here's Boston turning the corner. Dishing to Hull. Extra feed Clark. A deep 3. You bet! And he actually brought up stats from a shooting slump Steph Curry went through. She said that made her feel a lot better. That pass will as well. Right on the money to Mitchell.
Cunningham attacked the closeout.
Clark, the rejection of Quinterly. Clark, the flick ahead. Oh, beautifully done. Touchdown, Fever.
Clark snatched it, eyes already streaking down court. Her right arm fired a 70-foot missile that hung beneath the Jumbotron, dropped into Mitchell's stride, and detonated Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Dallas scrambled into a zone, hoping to plug holes. Clark simply split the fortress with pocket passes until it resembled Swiss cheese. By halftime, Indiana owned a 64-point total, new franchise record and highest first-half mark by any team in the 2025 season. Kelsey Mitchell torched Nylon for 20 on 12 shots. Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard, delighting older purists with hustle-heavy post runs, combined to shoot 16 for 19. Clark reeled off passes so timely the league's tracking cameras occasionally lost sight of the ball.
And he actually brought up stats from a shooting slump Steph Curry went through. She said that made her feel a lot better. That pass will as well. Right on the money to Mitchell. A tenacious start from Caitlin Clark. Here's Ogunbowale off on a 3. Long rebound. Mitchell, you're not going to catch her. Kelsey Mitchell in for 2. they elevate each other because of how hard they compete. Nice look, Aaliyah Boston with a gorgeous dime to Kelsey Mitchell.
Everything White's slow ball scheme had suppressed came exploding to life. Early offense threes, pitch-ahead layups, and that intangible electricity you can't plot on a clipboard. Yet amid the scoring bonfire, Clark was quietly building something rarer than a blue moon. Mid-third quarter, Clark slid in front of a sleepy entry pass, peeled away with the pilfered leather, and threaded a 40-foot bounce to Sophie Cunningham for an and one.
Cunningham attacked the closeout.
Clark, the rejection of Quinterly. Clark, the flick ahead. Oh, beautifully done. Up down Fever.
Sophie Cunningham runs the route and puts her hand up in the air, gives Caitlin Clark the target. Barely over the fingertips of Hines Allen. Beautiful, beautiful pass, catch, in stride, finish. Beautiful basketball.
That swipe joined 4 earlier steals, giving Clark a ledger of 14 points, 13 assists, 5 steals. No other WNBA player has assembled that combination twice. Clark now stands alone. The defensive artistry thrilled the 45-plus crowd as much as the logo threes. They remember MJ in '88, Peyton jawing his way to strips, Stockton ambushing passing lanes.
Here's Clark being hawked by Isaiah James. Clark sidestepping three is good. Clark backing down Quinterly. 6 to shoot, baiting away and dropping it in. Beautiful. Here's Clark off the screen, through the lane, feeds Howard. Another assist for Clark. That's 13 as Howard is up to 18 points.
Clark anticipated angles like a chess grandmaster. One-hand flick, pivot, runway pass, 2 points. On one sequence, she erased Jordan Canada at the rim, then lofted a full-court chest strike that hit Mitchell like a wide receiver on a go route. Security guards high-five complete strangers. Basketball bliss rarely arrives with such sudden clarity. Numbers told one story. Dallas misery told another. Paige refused surrender, compiling 21 on patented elbow fadeaway. The problem? Her wingman disappeared. Arik Ogunbowale bricked every field goal attempt, finishing 0 for 10, a stat line as shocking as a snowstorm in July. Indiana's rotating traps and Clark's roving hands turned Arik's usual green light frenzy into a strobe of hurried bricks. Dallas had prepped to bully Clark, hedge hard, grab her jersey off screens. Physicality backfired. With each aggressive bump, Clark slithered into the lane and found Cutter slicing through stunned defenders.
It's in bounds. Clark backing down Quinterly. 6 to shoot, baiting away and dropping it in. Beautiful mid-range fadeaway from Caitlin Clark.
The scoreboard snowballed, 90 to 66, then 100 to 79. Finally 102 to 83. Wings Beats dubbed it the 12-minute avalanche. Front office calculators panicked. If this is what Clark Unleashed looks like, what happens when the rematch sells out a bigger arena? They answered by moving the encore to the NBA Mavericks, 20,000-seat home, gulping at the ticket surge. Post-game, Coach White gave a brisk 4-minute presser. She tipped her cap to Paige's poise, then delivered the headline. We run, that's Indiana Fever basketball. Reporters exchanged smirks. The philosophical battle had ended with a white flag from the bench. Clark followed, crediting teammates first, yet the grin stretching cheek to cheek betrayed liberation.
I feel like this was one of their best games as far as playing Fever basketball, which is a fast-paced style of basketball. They played Fever basketball for, I would say, about 75 to 80% of the game. And we have obviously seen this style of basketball, the style of basketball that we all know and love from the Indiana Fever, but we have only really seen it in short spurts. There have been so many games and so many times throughout this season where it feels like the Fever system is a slow down basketball type of system. Their offense wasn't running smoothly, but in this game, they were playing quick. They were moving the ball around. They had so many points off of the fast break.
The win nudged Indiana to 11-10, but the schedule shows no mercy. A road slog to Connecticut's defensive wall and New York's star-studded Liberty. Still, chemistry travels, and the newfound tempo straps rocket boosters to legs that once slogged in cement. Meanwhile, Dallas, sinking to 6-16, must decide whether to revamp an offense that stranded Auriemma on Brick Island or hope she snaps out before August's revenge date. League offices caught the ripple too. Overnight, back-end servers registered a spike in fever merchandise orders among 55 to 64-year-olds, the same demographic that lived Magic vs. Bird Live. They recognized the scent of a budding saga. This matchup wasn't just another mid-season box score, it was proof of two clashing ideas. A coach ditched her slow playbook, a fast break wizard painted the floor, and a long-talked rivalry finally got real. Records fell. 64 first-half points, 30 assists, and a stat line only Clark can claim. Still, trophies aren't handed out in July and legends are built over seasons, not one hot night. So what do you think? Did Indiana just reveal a title plan, or was this only chapter 1 of a seesaw story? Type record breaker if you think Clark's motor just made the Fever true contenders. Drop page turner if you expect Dallas to flip the script next time. Either way, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Our next video is just around the corner.